Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Thank you all for coming back again in this very important discussion about marriage in Islam according to the Qur'an and Sunnah. And we have, alhamdulillah, been having this class or this discussion for maybe a couple of months now, give or take a week or two. And we have come to the point in the discussion about talaq or divorce in Islam. And I anticipate that we'll have a very good discussion on this topic, and I'm looking forward to that as well. So, as you can see on the slide, first of all, can everyone see the slide that's being presented? Oh, no, you cannot.
Yes, I
I
see it.
guess I should share my screen.
I can see it.
Oh,
I can
everyone can
see
see it. Okay, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
it.
Very good. Okay, so it starts off with a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam narrated in the collection of Abu Dawood, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Of all the things Allah has made lawful, what He most hates is divorce. What He most hates is divorce." Um, so we have up until this point, as I mentioned, talked about marriage. What is marriage? What are the elements of marriage? What makes a marriage valid according to Islam? And we also spent a lot of time talking about um, advices from Quran and from Sunnah on how to make a happy marriage and a happy home, happy house with parents and children and spouses. So now we've gotten to the point where those advices, for one reason or another, did not work. And now it's time to discuss ways that the marriage can be dissolved. And so before we jump into the technical aspects of it, I think it's prudent to give some advice that uh, the weight of this decision. And I'm happy that our sister Julie started off with this hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that of all the things that are halal, that Allah Ta'ala permits or has allowed, um, divorce or talaq is the least liked or the hated, the one that is hated. So of all the halal things, the foods that we eat, the places we go, the clothes we wear, the things that we do, all of these things that are halal, divorce or talaq is the one that Allah Ta'ala hates the most. And by the way, talaq or divorce is the one that shaitan loves the most. There's another hadith, and I'll just summarize it, where shaitan was sitting on his throne on the water, and some of his shayateen, the smaller shayateen, they were coming back and talking about the works that they had done that day. And, one of them, talked about, they had different things that they had accomplished that day. And the one that made Shaitan the happiest was when he separated a husband, and this Shayateen was able to uh, cause a husband to divorce his wife. And Shaitan celebrated this Shaitan, saying that he did a great thing, that he did a great thing. And Jazakallah khair, Sister Azizah, for placing that hadith in the chat for those who would like to read more about that hadith. So when you look at the this matter of divorce or talaq. It's something hated by Allah Azza wa Jal, and it's something loved by shaitan. So this in and of itself should tell us, um, uh, um, how important a decision it is, and how serious a matter it is. Um, so with that, I think we should go ahead and start talking about divorce according to Islam and Sunnah. Um, so let's jump into it. And first of all, I'll give some of the technical aspects of it. I personally follow the fiqh of Imam Shafi'i, and the book that I use as a guide is Reliance of the Traveler, which is translated by Sheikh Nuh Hamim Keller, and he has a whole section on divorce. So first of all, who can effect a divorce in Islam? The divorce is effected by the husband. Okay. Um, so before we jump into that, there's an ayat in Qur'an in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat number 229. And part of that ayat, Allah Ta'ala says that divorce is 2 times. Divorce is 2 times. And in a hadith, there was a separate hadith. There was one of the Sahaba questioned or asked the Prophet ﷺ about the third time. And the Prophet ﷺ, and I'm paraphrasing, said that the third one is to release them in kindness, or to release them gracefully. And so a husband may pronounce talaq 2 times and take his wife back. And the third talaq is final. He cannot take her back after the third talaq unless she enters into another marriage, and that marriage also ends in talaq or divorce. Then the first husband can take her back if they both agree upon
One quick point to ask that.
Yes.
They, according to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, got to taste the honey.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And the marriage must be consummated. So if after the third talaq, and the wife, the divorcee or the woman who is divorced, she cannot go back to her husband until she marries another man, and that marriage is consummated. And there cannot be any pre-arrangement, meaning that they cannot say, okay, you can marry my best friend, my Sahaba, and he's going to divorce you after, the marriage is consummated. If there's any pre-arrangement like this is haram, and it's punishable. And that marriage, actually, I'm not even sure if that marriage will be considered valid. Maybe it's valid according to the Sharia, that it fulfill the conditions, but this arrangement is haram and punishable, as far as I understand, and Allah knows best. And so after that third talaq, the marriage is or the divorce is final unless it meets those conditions. So who may affect or what is a divorce in Islam? And I'm just going to basically read a little bit directly from the book Reliance of the Traveler. And it says that there are 5 integrals to a divorce. Number 1, that the divorce is spoken, that the husband must declare that he divorced his wife. And there are caveats to what I'm about to say. This is the general criteria for divorce. Number 1, that the husband pronounces talaq. Number 2, that there is a wife, that obviously he's married. Number 3, that he has the authority to effect it. Number 4, that he has niyyah or intention. And number 5, that the person who effects it, the husband, um, he says, and the person who effects it, meaning that it comes from the husband. It can't come from other people. And I would pause here for a second. There is a exception that the husband may commission someone the same way that the husband could commission someone to offer marriage to a wife or to her wali. Um, uh, the husband can also issue a divorce through someone by his authority. So these are the general criteria. Um, it says that a divorce is valid from a husband. Number one, it comes from the husband only, not from anyone else. No one can force the husband. The divorce, the talaq must come from the husband. Number two, he must be sane. In other words, he could not be under duress or under influence of some, maybe he's majnoon or he lost his mind or he was not coherent at that particular time. That divorce may not be considered valid, and there's some caveats there. Number three, that he has reached puberty. So this may seem strange to us, but in other cultures and other times, it could be that the parents of the husband and wife have married the children before they reach the age of puberty, right? So in this case, um, the husband would not be able to effect a divorce unless he has reached the age of puberty. And then in that case, he has earned or he has reached a level where he can effect a divorce. Number four, and who voluntarily effects it, meaning that no one can force a husband under duress to divorce his wife. This is not a valid talaq. I also see a comment in the chat that says must he pronounce before witnesses? The answer is no. Witnesses are not required for a husband to pronounce talaq on his wife. And may Allah Ta'ala protect the marriages, the husbands and wives. I mean, a divorce is not valid from a child or someone who is insane or someone who is wrongfully coerced into doing it or forced into doing it. So if someone were to threaten the husband and say, you better divorce your wife or else, and there's some consequence that he fears for his life, and if he doesn't do it, then if he doesn't pronounce the talaq, then he's going to die or get killed or some harm is going to come to him, and he says it, this talaq is not valid because it was not done by free will, but rather it was done under duress. And likewise, a marriage can also not be made under duress, that the husband or the wife is forced into a marriage that they don't agree to. If they agree to it voluntarily, this is something acceptable. A virgin girl may be married by her father to some man because she's not able to represent herself, but the condition of coercion is still present, even in this situation that a person cannot be forced against their will into a marriage, nor can a husband be forced against his will to effect a divorce. And it says that a statement of divorce is legally effective when pronounced by a person who has his mental faculties and pronounced by a person who's mental. I'm sorry. It is not does not take effect when a person the husband does not have his mental faculties, or he's under duress. I mentioned that already. The person conducting the divorce may effect it himself or may commission another person, as I mentioned. And it says that the person commissioned may effect the divorce. He may effect the divorce as instructed. Now, this is the general rule in Islam that the effect of divorce or the right to effect a divorce it belongs to the husband. Okay? The right to effect a divorce belongs to the husband. Now, how many times may a husband divorce his wife? It is 3 times. 2 times, and then the third, as I mentioned, is to release her graciously or with kindness. And it says that the Prophet ﷺ was asked about the third time, and he ﷺ said, "It is Allah's having said or graciously release them." So divorce is twice, and the third one is to graciously release them. It is offensive to make a pronouncement of divorce when there is no need. So this is for husbands. Husbands should not divorce their wives without a need. Says the divorce must be valid, meaning a reason with the Sharia. Yes. Okay, so Sister Khadija, Jazakallah khair. We're going to get to that now, inshallah. It's interesting you said that as I was just reading this. So it is offensive in Islam that a husband would pronounce talaq on his wife frivolously without a need. And it is also offensive for a husband to pronounce multiple talaq on his wife at one time. So in other words, for him to say multiple times, "You are divorced, you are divorced, you are divorced," or "I divorce you," or any words like this, there is no benefit. There's no benefit for a husband to mention or pronounce talaq multiple times in one instance or one situation. Whether he divorced her once, twice, or 3 times, a divorce is a divorce. And for him to do it 3 times is offensive, although it is valid. It is said that there are various categories to divorce. There are 3 categories to divorce. There's the divorce according to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. There is a divorce of bid'ah or innovation. And then there's a third type, which is not according to the Sunnah, nor is it an innovation. And I'll give a brief description of that. What is the divorce according to the Sunnah? The divorce according to the Sunnah is the pronouncement of divorce in an interval between menstrual periods. So in other words, the husband should not divorce a wife, while she's on her mens. To do that is offensive, though it is it is valid, but it is offensive to do so, and it's a bid'ah, an innovation. So the divorce should be between menstruation, and it should also not be that the husband would share the bed with her or sleep with her and then divorce her. This is also not according to the Sunnah. So the Sunnah divorce would be between menstruations where there was no sexual intercourse between the husband and the wife during this period. So this is the Sunnah of divorce. One talaq between menstruation without any marital relations between the husband and wife. That would be the sunnah. The divorce or the talaq of bid'ah is either to pronounce the divorce while a woman is on her mens. This is a bid'ah. Also, to pronounce the talaq while he in a period between the mens while he has shared the bed with her. It says that so innovation because implies okay. And also, as I mentioned, to pronounce the talaq multiple times is also a bid'ah or something that is offensive in Islam. In other words, to pronounce it the full 3 times or even 2 times, this is a bid'ah. Now, what about the third category of divorce? One that is not sunnah and one that is nor is it unlawful or bid'ah. This divorce is from a prepubescent husband or a postmenopausal wife. So in other words, she's postmenopausal and now you divorce her. Or while she's pregnant. This is not the sunnah, that he should not divorce her while she's pregnant. It's not the sunnah, but it is not unlawful. Well, it says not unlawful. And it also says that, or one with whom one has not yet had relations. He has not, a husband who has not consummated the marriage, he has already divorced her. So this is also one that the husband should be careful of. I'm going to pause there for a second in case there's any questions, comments, corrections, any of the above before we continue. Inshallah. Any comments or questions? I know it's kind of heavy.
I'm just waiting for that brother to start.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, it's because it's nothing to joke about. It's nothing to tease. This is when the situation is very serious.
Yes.
Because you don't know if the person's joking, like, oh, I want to divorce something. It's something you can't tease or joke about. This is one of those things. So
yes.
if a husband, for out of anger, and he doesn't say the exact words. He said, "Oh, you're not my wife anymore. You're not my wife." And he would do like 3 times, and then everything was cool. And then because of anger, they would do it to you. And then they would tell you it's never my wife
yes.
again. Where does that come from? Even though he has bedded you, so where does that come from? Is it just something he's doing on his own because he feels like the sister doesn't know the ruling?
Well, we're going to get to that, and that's the next topic,
okay.
actually.
Okay.
Jazakallah khair. You must be. I think that Sister Khadija. Say it again.
I'm speaking for all sisters.
Subhanallah, you're reading my mind, or you're reading the book. One of the two.
I'm one of the person I always get ahead of the person that's reading.
No. Jazakallah khair. This is good. But yes, to what you're saying that, and I mentioned earlier that a husband should not frivolously divorce his wife or without strong reason, divorce his wife. And that would include joking. Jokingly saying that, you're not going to be my wife if you do X, Y, and Z, or, my wife, women who's my wife would never do, or even play around in that area. This is not a laughing matter, as you mentioned. It's something to be taken very seriously. And any man who plays around with these words is irresponsible at the very least, if not sinful. Any other comments or questions so far? Okay, Tayyib, alhamdulillah. We'll continue, inshallah. Okay, what words, as our sister Khadija mentioned, effect a divorce? These are of two types. They're plain words, and then there are elusive words. Okay? The words that affect the divorce may be plain or elusive. Plain words affect the divorce, whether one intends divorce by them or not. So if a husband, uses plain words, whether he means it or not, it affects a divorce. And the elusive words do not affect it unless it comes with niyyah or intention. So, what are plain words? Plain words are, I divorce you. You are divorced. If a husband uses these plain words, then the wife is divorced, whether he has made the intention or not. So husbands, please listen carefully. Please, 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 please. If you use plain words, you have divorced your wife. You've divorced your wife. Astaghfirullah. You've divorced her. Be very careful and fear Allah. Have taqwa of Allah. Ittaqillah. Fear Allah with these words. Using plain words to effect a divorce means expressly pronouncing the word divorce or talaq. When the husband says, I divorce you, or you are divorced, the wife is divorced whether he has made intention or not. And it says it here and in the rulings below, expressions such as the wife is divorced or the divorce is effected mean just one of the three times. So if a husband says this comment, it counts for one talaq. It says that unless the husband intends more than one talaq. So it's a combination of the pronouncement and the niyyah. He can say it one time and intend it three times, according to what I'm reading. But the general ruling is if he pronounced it once, he intended it once, and it counts as one talaq. Now let's get to the gray area. Using elusive words, words that don't directly mean she's divorced, but it could mean that depending on the niyyah or the intention of the husband. The husband saying, you are now alone. You are now alone. If he says it with intention, he just divorced her. If a husband says, you are separated, if he means in his heart with niyyah intention to divorce her, she's divorced. You are parted. You are no longer lawful to me. You are no longer lawful to me. May Allah protect us. If a husband says to his wife, go back to your family, go back to your house, your family, your father's house, he divorced her if he has niyyah intention. You are footloose, or in other words, you are a free woman now. You are now a free woman. He just divorced her with intention. Or the like. If he says to his wife, I am divorced from you. I am divorced from you. He just divorced her with niyyah. Or if he commissions someone, or when he commissions the wife to pronounce the divorce, and she says, you are divorced. So in other words, if a husband says to his wife, I give you permission to divorce me, and she says, you are divorced, she's divorced from her husband. May Allah protect us.
Sheikh, a quick point here.
Yes.
Because I'm no fucky by any means, but there needs to be a context, because the Arabs of the time, the medieval Arabs, they had certain code words that they use. One, for example, you're like the back of my mama. They said that often. So in our culture, we don't have these expressions. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it may be, and that's for brighter minds for me to explore. It might be some consideration given to the kind of languages we use in terms of separating from someone. Like, baby, you better bounce. I'm done with you. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? That kind of things. It might be. I don't know. But I'm saying we have a whole different set of languages that we use. That's all I'm saying.
So when in Jazakallah khair for your comment, and you are correct, and that's why when it comes to these elusive terminologies, it must come with the niyyah, the intention. So elusive words by themselves don't effect divorce unless the husband intends it that way. So if a husband says to his wife, baby, you need to bounce, he may mean that you need to go to the other room, or you need to, take your space. Maybe he just meant that. He didn't mean I divorce you. He meant that we need to take a space. We need a break right now. That is not a divorce. But if a husband says to his wife in today's context that free yourself, you are free now, you know, and he means by that, but he has intention, or he has niyyah by that to divorce her, then she's divorced. And in this situation, I would recommend that a wife clarify and ask, are you divorcing me? Am I divorced?
I don't recommend that chick. You know why?
Tell me.
I don't think she should press that because in his anger, he might just say, yeah,
I
just
agree.
kind of man up. So I
Yeah.
think you leave that alone and let it cool down. You know what I'm
Let
saying?
it cool down. That's
Yeah,
good
yeah.
advice. I agree. I agree. And I see Sister Khadijah's hand is raised. Bismillah.
The brother jumped straight in, didn't he? I have two questions. I'm just taking notes as you read.
Bismillah.
It still goes back with what you just mentioned. I'm still want clarification. Says if a husband asks a wife for her to, let's say for example, we vice versa. I'm the husband, you're the wife,
Okay.
and I tell you, go get a divorce. Why don't you talk to your mom to get a divorce? It is because he's trying to save his skin from peeling under the sun. And if a husband say, I would no longer sleep with you, yes, you're still in the same house, but he would no longer sleep with you. So he's on the couch and you in the bedroom. So where did that fall in again with what you just mentioned?
So these are elusive words.
Mm-hmm.
A husband telling a wife that you need to talk to an imam is not a divorce. That's not a divorce. A husband telling his wife, I'm not going to sleep with you right now, is not a divorce. Now, if he is looking for, because part of the sunnah, if a husband and wife have a disagreement, one of the um, strategies to correct the wife in that situation would be to separate from the bed. Separate from the bed for a period of time, not indefinitely. But if the husband advises the wife, he brings proof from Qur'an and Sunnah, he is trying to correct her, and she's not accepting of his correction, she's challenging him, she's refusing to listen and refusing, then he may use that as a strategy. But it's not indefinite that he's never going to sleep with her again. And sometimes we misspeak as husbands. We may say wrong things, but effectively, we may come back and apologize, and there should be room for that. But as I see it, and I'm not a faqih by any means, I'm barely a student of knowledge. And from my understanding, that is not a divorce, and I would not consider that a talaq.
And as I said before, when a brother's trying to keep his skin from peeling under the hot scorching sun, and for him to tell his wife, And I know brother had this ego. They have brothers have egos. So they try to force the wife to do something that they're afraid to do so that, because like I said, they don't want the skin to peel. That is incorrect. So a wife, if she has that knowledge, if she doesn't have that knowledge, she probably thinks it's okay for her to go ask their man, hey, can I get divorced? And yet he knows that's incorrect. So it's still not considered divorce if he has not announced it, but he's trying to force her to do it for whatever his really agenda is.
Well, I
And
think
this,
that a wife should not assume that's the husband's intention, because if a husband truly wanted to divorce his wife, he simply needs to say the words. And sometimes a husband may seek assistance through the imam or the scholar in the community to maybe the husband trying to correct his wife is not effective. So he's seeking assistance from the community to help correct her. So he may refer her to the imam or to the Aleem or some respected person in the community. But a wife should not assume that the only reason he's doing this is because he's trying to save his reputation or save himself from pronouncing talaq. He doesn't want the stigma of divorcing her, so he's going to push her to her, put her back against the wall and make her do it. I don't think I personally don't think that that's a fair assessment.
That
I
that is, but that's serious cowardice, though. But here's the thing. I think it's maybe timely to insert here that even after a pronunciation of divorce, when a couple resume sexual relationship, the marriage is on. It's back on. That's
Yeah,
all it takes.
yeah, we're going to get to that too, inshallah. Um, but there are ways to recover the marriage, a raja, which is to when she comes back or returns to the marriage. There's certain actions and certain words to return the wife to the marriage. So there are conditions for that, and Brother Saif, you're right on that. But um, before we get to that, Sister Khadija, did I answer your question?
yes, I was just like I said, I was just taking notes of everything you mentioned before, so I'm just rearranging it in different
Okay.
language, I would say.
Now, here's another one that I think husbands need to be very careful of. Um, if someone asks a husband, do you have a wife? And he says no, he has divorced his wife. If it's said with Nia, this is another statement, elusive statement. If a husband is asked about his wife, are you married or do you have a wife? And he says no, depending on his Nia, his intention, he could have effectively divorced his wife. Now, when it comes to marriage and divorce, brothers, you must be very careful with your words, because we come into marriage with words in Islam and we leave out of marriage with words in Islam. And I think that husbands, especially, have to understand this amana, this trust, and take it very seriously. Don't play around. Even in jest or joking, we should not play around with marriage and divorce. We should not do that. Sister Azizah, Bismillah.
Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. Question for you.
Yes.
So I'm hearing a lot about, the husband and him wanting to initiate the divorce and the things he has to say and do. But what if the wife wants to initiate the divorce from her husband, inshallah?
Inshallah. We'll get to that. That's also coming up. And I'll try to go a little quicker because I know we're running a little short on time. Effectively, without a hakim or judge, a wife does not have the right to effect a divorce unless the husband is under two conditions. First condition is that the husband gives his right to his wife and gives her the uh, the right to pronounce a talaq, and she uh, enacts that right, and she takes that right. So if a husband says to his wife, if you want to divorce me, I give you the right to divorce me. And she says, then I divorce you. Another way is under a kula, when a wife may, and we'll get to that inshallah, may purchase her freedom from her husband. And she says, I'll give you $1,000 to divorce, for divorce. And the husband accepts that arrangement or accepts that contract, then effectively she's divorced. The third way is if the wife and husband are before a judge, a hakim, and this hakim grants the wife a divorce because she's not getting her rights. Maybe the husband is abusive or the husband's not fulfilling her rights. And this judge grants her a divorce. In that case, she's divorced. But we'll get to that in just a couple minutes. I wanted to finish the elusive divorce because this is where the gray area where a lot of husbands get into trouble. It says that when the husband writes words, that effect a divorce, it says no matter whether able or unable to speak at that time. So in other words, if a husband is sick in the hospital, he has a tube down his throat, he can't speak and divorce her, but he can write. And he writes on a sheet of paper, I divorce you. This is elusive, but with intention, niyyah, it can effect a divorce. When one intends divorce by any of the above words, it affects it, but if one does not intend, they do not. So if elusive words, meaning ambiguous words, words that could mean divorce, but it's not direct, it's not plain. If a husband does not mean divorce by these words, it does not affect the divorce. So if a husband says to his wife, go away from me, stay away from me, right? Stay away from me. Did he divorce her? Well, the question is, did he mean to divorce her? If he meant, when he said, don't come near me, stay away from me, if he meant it as a divorce, then he did. And if he did not, then it's not. Okay, I'm going to move forward. Any questions about that first?
I'm still confused when the part you say when someone, I don't know if you referred to his sister, asks a brother if he's married. Are you referring to, and he says no? I'm still confused on that part.
If a husband, a married man, is
Mm-hmm.
asked, whether by a sister, a brother, or anyone for that matter,
Mm-hmm.
if a husband is asked, are you married? Do you have a wife? And the husband says, no, I don't have a wife. This elusive word is considered to be elusive, even though it seems very clear to me. But if he says this with niyyah, with intention,
Mm-hmm.
then she's divorced. He just divorced. He said he denied being married to her. He says, no, she's not my wife. He divorced her if he meant it that way. Now, if he said it in jest, man, is that your wife over there? That ain't my wife. You know, that's your wife over there wearing or doing something crazy. She ain't my wife. Now, if he
But he
didn't mean to divorce her, then he's effectively still married to her, although he did something which is disliked and makruh at the very least.
so is it missing something? If he didn't say it to her, how would she know if she's divorced?
She
If he's
wouldn't know. She wouldn't know. Yeah, she
mm-hmm.
wouldn't know until he do. If he meant it, she would eventually know when when
when
he
he's a,
tells her. But if he didn't mean it, she would never know that I mean, right now, if someone were to go to work and say, "Are you married?" And he said, "No, no, not really, not
Mhm.
really." What do you mean, not really? Are you married or not? Did you divorce your wife? Were you ever married? So it depends on his nia.
Mhm.
Check. This is one
Yeah.
of the things about reading a lot of the thick books. They get real granular
Yes.
on these edge cases that are not central. I mean, I think a sister is more concerned at this point is what remedy do I have if I want to get out of a marriage? I'm paying to get out. The mahar wasn't big enough anyway to really be meaningful. Where's the fucky that's going to grant her? Where's the judge, if you were, as it were, that's going to grant her a kula? Really, this really has to be worked out. We really need to think hard about this.
Well, that's the thing. Now there's two different types of divorce here. There's divorce according to Sharia, and there's divorce according to the state of Texas, okay, or the state of wherever people live in America. In America, all of this is a moot point. If a woman wants a divorce, all she got to do is go down to the courthouse, sign some papers, get a lawyer, whatever, and that marriage is over.
Assuming she married through the state, right?
Assuming she's married through the state, and especially if she's not married through the state, she might just pack up bags and go. But that is a wife who may be facing the punishment of the hellfire or punishment of the grave. So everything that I'm saying right now is for a Muslim.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Which man in his right mind would want to marry a woman who just pack up her things and leave? And the question in his mind was this divorce properly adjudicated? For me to now propose to this woman, it's really problematic.
Well, the problem is the husband may not know she's a woman that would pack her bags and go. He
No,
may not.
I'm talking about after the fact. You know, I mean, I
I,
mean, if
I,
if a woman is well, how did you? I mean, if it comes up, let's say, it probably will in the vetting period.
oh, so you mean, let's say a future husband
Yeah,
is looking courting her,
yeah,
and he asks, "Well, what happened to your previous marriage?" And she said, "Oh, I just packed up and left." Is that the question? What you're
yeah.
talking about? Well, in this case, um, she's still a Muslim, and perhaps she has changed her ways, or he believes she changed her ways. Maybe he feels like the previous husband deserved to be walked out on. Maybe he did something crazy, and her leaving he thought was justified. So there's a lot of caveats, a lot of situations there that may make a future husband think that that's okay. But according to Islam, uh, if a woman is being her rights are being denied or violated, she should go to a hakim, which we don't have in this country. This is, by the way, what I'm reading is according to Sharia. And I will say this: all Muslims should follow the Qur'an and Sunnah to the best of our ability. Whether you live in America, you live in Saudi Arabia, you live in a deserted island, we should all be following Quran and Sunnah to the best of our ability, and we should all fear Allah. And so, with that, I mean, you have the legal system of the land in which we live, and you also have the Sharia. My advice to everyone, including myself first and foremost, and to everyone else, is fear Allah and follow the Sharia.
I would recommend, Sheikh Walid Basuni. Um, he counseled a sister who was married to a guy that she had kids before the marriage, and they went to a restaurant, and he said, "Well, I'm not paying for the kids' dinner because they're not mine." He told her, "Divorce him." That's the guy to consult for these questions. Sheikh Walid Basuni.
In this case, Sheikh Walid Basuni is better qualified than me, has more knowledge in Islam than me, and perhaps according to our society in which we live, he could be considered a hakim. And if the hakim ordered her or gave her permission to divorce him, then she's divorced. And I have no issue with that. I think that if a person of knowledge who's qualified, the best qualified that we have in the country or the land in which we live, gives this kind of judgment, I would rest comfortably saying this person tried their best to follow the Qur'an and Sunnah to the best of their ability with what they had. And in this case, Sheikh Walid Basuni and other shuyukh or imams here, I would look to them as a hakim. I would not look to myself as one.
I want to say something to the brother just that mentioned before the story he told. I'm going to
Yes.
tell you one of my first Muslim husband. This is my third husband. This is the middle one I'm referring to. I was very new to Islam. When I say new, very new. So I did marry a Muslim from another country. So it was went into 3 months, and I was denied my rights. Everything was fine for first week, and then suddenly I was denied everything. The job situation, the job was an excuse or whatever it may be, but still being patient, still learning, still reading the Quran. I'm learning on my own. So, and the thing happened, it was prayer time. So, of course, the husband's the teacher, the wife prayed. So I'm doing a prayer behind him. So I finished. He said, because he misses prayer, so you need to make up his prayer. So I said, Alhamdulillah. So I didn't know at the time because of the area we was praying in the common area. And I waited and I passed in front of him, and he grabbed, this is a man over 6 feet, and he grabbed me, and I just froze. And my arm, you can see because of my skin tone, so you can see the big red with his big hands gripped me. And I quickly was scared. I was totally scared. I didn't know what to do. And he just snatched me back out of the way. And I'm thinking, okay, what did I do? Because I didn't know. What did I do? So fast forward, it got with the point where I was being stalked. I was being tracked. Everything I did as though I did something wrong. I was in prison into my own bedroom. I couldn't leave. And that's exactly where I were. A prison within my own door because it's all about the narcissistic control type thing. And I was learning as I was going. So the court then gets to the court. So we end up going to court because I had to call an officer because of the bruises I had. So like I said, all this happened because I didn't know. I didn't know any of what you're telling me now. So my first thing is to go to the law of the land. So I called the officers. They did report, and they felt was I threatening. Of course, the biggest guy. Of course, I felt I'd rather able to, be in the house with him like because I don't know what it's going to do. And so they did the paperwork. But I wasn't his first wife neither. So we did a traditional marriage. I told you were doing cynical. So we did the traditional marriage, and we go to court. And there, of course, we still announce ourselves a husband and wife, but the law of the land said we are not. We are roommates. And I was trying to tell the judge, no, we're husband and wife. No, the judge, I was going back and forth with the judge and I was like, no, we're Muslim, we are married. But she was going, you're not your roommate, and blase, blase, blase. So we still stand before them. I had an attorney, he had an attorney. And at the very end of that court, and I told him, I'm sorry, I apologize for what I did not know. And we both apologized. But when we get back home, and that is the point where he said, I would never sleep with you again. You can have a bedroom. We will have the couch. And it just went on from there, to the point I couldn't sleep with my eyes open. So I decided to pack my things and I left because I didn't know what the outcome would be. I didn't know. So what the brother is saying, you're saying it from a man perspective. If you have not been in the shoes of his sister, you don't know what's going through her mind, what's going through her, or the possibility of what the husband made because there was so much in a short period of time. And when a sister goes into a marriage, she doesn't know. You know, she could be very new to this whole thing. So the automatic she think the flight thing to run to save herself. And I ended up going to a sister shelter for sisters who had been divorced or running for their safety. So I was put in a safe house with all Muslims so he couldn't find out where I were. But he was the same one that said, you're not my wife. When he upset, you're not my wife. And again, you're not my wife. And to take me to an area where no one's there to threaten me. So I'm still at the point of, well, this man gonna kill me? What is he gonna do? Because he wants to isolate me. So no one would know what have happened to me. So I had to stay in contact with my family. It was just so much within three months. So I said, pack stuff, I'm gone. When he went to work, I was fully dressed underclothes, pulled the sheet, and I took off. I took off.
Yes, I agree with you completely. I mean, there are cases where a woman should run, for sure.
And I ran. I
Homicide.
I have no problem telling that story to sisters because I've also seen sisters before me that was going through the beating, the physical beating. I was verbally abused. And in court, they said in Maryland, it is the most worst abuse you can have when someone's playing with your mind like that. Physical abuse is something that can go away, but you playing with someone's mind, that is serious. That is very serious because they told him he had a year, he had to stay out of the house. I said, no, he can have the house. I won't be that cruel to him. I respect him. I still saw him as my husband. But when I realized what I did, I felt sorry. I wanted my husband back because I did go to all the avenues. I went from imam to they told me they want to talk to him. So it took a year because he wouldn't respond. He told me, he said, ma'am, his house, no one should get involved. But I felt I want to save my marriage. I want to stop it before it gone any further. So then I go to the last person, and that person did tell me to divorce my husband because, and I will say this because you all don't know him, because he was not, try to say a very easy way, he was not no longer attracted to a female. I'll put it that way. And that is what the brother said. So I don't know. I don't. He said because that's where he refusing my rights. So I don't know. So I went through this for a year before I can get because they want to go hear his side and not they hear my side, but they didn't agree because they want to know it's more than one side to the story. And I totally understand.
SubhanAllah. I'm very sorry to hear your experience, sister, and I pray that Allah help you and all of us in our family situations and make matters easy for us. It's 8:31 now, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And I knew that this would be a spirited discussion because unfortunately, in this country and in Islam in this country, the rate of divorce is very high. And many of us, unfortunately, have been impacted by divorce in one way or another.
Abdul, may I say something real quick here?
Yes, Bismillah.
My daughter, when she got married, I made it very clear. Honey, if your husband is coming with the beat down and think he can whip up on you every day, you call the cops and have him locked up.
I agree. Physical abuse is not acceptable in a marriage. From the male to the female, from the male to the female, or female to the male. Husbands, if you have a wife that likes to, take things to a physical level, I would advise you to leave and seek counseling. Sisters, if you have a husband who is violent with you, I would strongly advise leaving and as Brother Saif said, engage law enforcement, and also seek counsel and potentially leave that situation. And actually, it's just as dangerous for men as it is for women. And I think statistically speaking, they say that more men, ironically, are victims of spousal abuse than women these days. But Allah knows best. Either way it goes, it's not anything good or healthy, and it's certainly not um, uh, abuse is not acceptable in Islam according to Qur'an or Sunnah. May Allah protect us from this trial of abuse in marriage. So with that, inshallah, we will go ahead and close out for tonight. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every one of us to find righteous, God-fearing spouses, that Allah ta'ala put rahmah and mercy between husbands and wives, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for any of our shortcomings or mistakes, and protect us from the whispers of shaitan. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلى الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.